Joining me now, the man himself, Minnesota Congressman and House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Maria. Good morning.
So what are your expectations to getting these appropriations bills done and actually funding government even sooner than that end date of January 30th?
Well, from our position as the whip in the House, we're responsible to get these things across the finish line. Look, I think our members should have a belief, a goal that they can get this done before the end of the year. It's that old line, first you don't tell people what they can't do because then they won't do it. You tell them what they can do. And in this case, reach for the moon, you may get a few stars. Right now, the appropriations process, as you point out, 3 of the 12 bills have actually been passed into law. That's a new thing in the last several years, Maria. There's another 3 to 6 that are very close to being closed up, according to our appropriations chair, who's working with Republicans and Democrats in both the House and the Senate. They believe that they can get it down to the last 2 rather quickly. And if that's the case, we should not allow Congress to take its foot off the gas. The American people deserve to have the budget taken care of through the end of the fiscal year, next September 30th, so that they can do the things that they need to do rather than worrying about government services being shut down again by people who put their politics ahead of the people.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I understand. But, Congressman, I guess what I'm trying to understand is what your priorities are for the new year. Are you considering a second reconciliation plan?
Well, that's a speaker's call, but I think right now the focus is totally on the appropriations process. You're going to have some other things that were part of the original reconciliation bill. You're going to see some great ideas from the Republicans in the House on how you literally bring health care costs down. You're going to see permitting reform, Maria, which is long overdue. Some would say 30 years overdue, so that these projects can get moving. The best thing is that Donald Trump was elected a year ago by 77 million Americans to pull the Biden economy out of the ditch, to give Americans an economy that they can actually thrive and prosper in. And we're well on our way to that. That's what the goal is going to be going into next year. As you pointed out earlier, the big, beautiful bill that passed back, the Working Families Tax Cut Act, whatever we're calling it now, that will kick in January, and watch this thing take off. I think we're going to look for a big 2026 for Americans.
Yeah, that's a great point. In fact, Kevin Hassett made the point to me earlier as well that expensing part of the big, beautiful bill will play out in a substantial way when you consider economic growth. So where does the Affordable Care Act subsidies stand at this point, Congressman? Because you've got $30 billion of expiring ACA subsidies utilized by 22 million Americans, and we know that there's a Senate vote on December 5th, but are there real plans to actually do something about those Obamacare subsidies?
Well, as you probably know as well as I do, Maria, there were some things leaked out of the White House over the weekend about some ideas. I know that we've got different ideas in our conference. I think the most important thing for Americans to understand is that this is all because of the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act was voted for just by Democrats. It's another example of how their ideas actually cause more harm and pain than they do help. And in this case, the Affordable Care Act, since it was enacted, Maria, it's 80%, almost 100% more expensive for health care for the average family in this country as a direct result of the Affordable Care Act. And what's their solution? Their solution is to throw even more money at the insurance companies who are doing so well, while Americans are struggling to get access to the health care that they need and that they deserve. So I think you're going to see not only the ideas to create a marketplace that has more transparency, more competition, and most importantly, more choice and accessibility for Americans, but you're going to have this debate now. It's the Affordable Care Act that has become the Unaffordable Care Act. It's time that Donald Trump and Republicans fix it so that Americans can get access to the best health care in the world.
So do you think we'll hear the ideas this week? And, of course, the president has been very clear in saying, I'd rather put the money in the hands of Americans. Let them spend their money on health care the way they choose to.
I think you're going to hear more from the White House. You've already got it from our members. We've got different ideas on both sides of our conference in terms of how you would address this. I think the most important thing, which I'm going to keep harping on, is that it is the Unaffordable Care Act that has caused this problem. And it's time that we all just roll our sleeves up, get back to the table, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat in this country, recognize that the system was broken because of that well-intentioned but misguided law, and it's time that we fix it.
Great points all around. But, Congressman, the president has also floated this idea of sending checks to American citizens, $2,000 checks to help them. And one analyst at Piper Sandler says, we suspect the only way the stimulus checks could even be passed via legislation is through a second reconciliation bill, which has an October 1st, 2026 deadline. He writes, we're skeptical a second reconciliation bill will begin to gain traction until there is a resolution on the Affordable Care Act subsidies and government funding there, which expires January 30th. I put the question to John Barrasso in the Senate yesterday. Here's what he said. Watch. Are you expecting a second reconciliation bill next year?
Well, we certainly can do a second reconciliation bill. I am concerned about the size of our national debt. It's $38 trillion, as you pointed out at the beginning of the show. The interest alone on that is over $1 trillion a year. That's more than we spend on our military. So I think there would be some value in using some of that money to actually pay down our national debt.
I mean, if you're concerned about the national debt, the way John Barrasso is concerned, what is the likelihood that that passes $2,000 checks to individuals next year, Congressman?
Well, first off, you got to love this president. He looks at this like a business. And when the business is doing well, the shareholders, which are the American people, should be rewarded. How that turns out, we'll see where the president wants to go with it. But the real issue, it is the debt. $37 trillion in debt and growing, Maria. We have to continue to address this, which is why the appropriations process is so important. You can't allow Biden-era spending to continue. This is what threw the economy into the ditch. They went and they spent almost $2 trillion on something called the American Rescue Plan, which economists have called the original sin. What did they suggest during the 43 days of needless shutdown? 7 Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer in the Senate, held the American people hostage for what? They wanted to spend another $1.5 trillion. So they didn't learn, Maria, what you did to throw this economy into the ditch and make Americans suffer under 4 years of Joe Biden. You want to do again. It makes no sense. John Barrasso's right. But first, you got to get this appropriations process done, and you got to get your spending under control.
And the more appropriations bills you get, the better off you'll be in terms of getting held hostage again by a government shutdown by your colleagues on the left. Look, I mean, you've got, less than 40 days until these Affordable Care Act pandemic-era subsidies expire. You've got about 70 days until a potential another government shutdown. And by the way, I should point out that that's 2 days shy of Groundhog's Day, Congressman. Are we going to see another Groundhog's Day in January 30th?
All I'm going to say to you, Maria, is don't underestimate us. They said we couldn't get the working families tax cut done by Memorial Day. We did it. They said we couldn't ever get it done through the Senate and back out of the House and to the president's desk by July 4th. We did it. Republicans in the majority in the House and the Senate and the president have been defying expectations. We will get it done.
Yeah, but are you going to get it done in terms of the midterm elections, Congressman? I mean, now everybody's talking about affordability. Are you going to be able to convince the American people that, in fact, costs are coming down? Do you want to see President Trump cut tariffs at this point on some of the things that he's talking about? He said he's going to start cutting tariffs on certain things like coffee from Brazil, et cetera.
Groceries are down. Gas is at a 5-year low that you put in your car, Maria.
Yeah, that's good.
And you still have the permanent tax policy that will take effect in January. No taxes on tips. No taxes on overtime. No taxes on Social Security. These are the marquee items that Donald Trump ran on that have actually been delivered. And look, they destroyed this economy under Joe Biden for 4 years. Donald Trump has been there for less less than a year, and he is already showing progress. Get ready for 2026. I believe it's going to take off, and we will be in a great position for the midterms because Americans will realize that exactly what they voted for when they voted for Donald J. Trump last November and Republicans in the House and the Senate, promises made have been promises kept. And this is the future is going to be much brighter a year from now.
All right, Congressman Tom Emmer in fighting form. I love it. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.